Oh, hello. Greetings, Reclaimers. I am 343 Guilty Spark, monitor of Podcast Evolved. Protocol dictates that you must listen. Come, we have a wealth of knowledge to share with you, and you don't want to make my blue eye red. Do you, Reclaimers?
Welcome, Spartans, to Podcast Evolved, your home for Halo. I'm your host today, David, and with me is Oran.
What's up, everybody?
Krysta.
Hello.
And Oran.
I'm last.
Yeah, it happens sometimes.
Someone has to be last.
Don't read too much into it, yeah. Full house today, guys. Woo!
Woo!
Today is our Lore Week episode, and we are continuing our mini-series, The Road for Infinite, that is going to be a mini-series now. We've got Sentinels, is what we're going to cover today. Before we get started, I'll do some of the social stuffs. So, as always, our website is halopodcastevolved.com, also halopodcast.com. Please go check us out. We got a bunch of stuff over there. All of our extra episodes. We got a store. We got so many cool things. Our shows contain things like Mission Debrief, which is deep dive in every Halo games campaign, mission by mission. Halo Book Club kind of deep dives into extended lore like novels, comics, books, short stories. And our newest show builds web blocks. So that's all centered around, as you can think, or as you can imagine, micro action figures and brick-based construction sets within the Halo universe. Our Patreon page is patreon.com/Halo Podcast Evolved. Oh, head it over there if you care to give us some money. So we have things like exclusive rewards for our patrons, daily episodes, swag. As always, we need to shout out our fantastic Patreon. You guys are incredible. Thank you all so much. Just nuts. It's still just not normal to me now that this is still happening at the rate that it is happening. So thank you all, especially with the year and way the world works now. It's mental. Also, finally, I would like to encourage our listeners who want more to listen to support Audible. Listen to a growing collection of Halo novels all in one place, along with thousands of other novels, podcasts, guided wellness programs, Audible originals, and more. If you use the URL audibletrial.com/podcastevolved, you get a free trial over there that helps support us. So thank you very much if you want to go check that out. So there we go. Now into the show. Last week on Halos. Aaron, since you were last introducing, I will let you go first on your last week of Halo. Please tell me you did some Halo stuffs. God damn it, Aaron.
I've just played Division. That's all I've done.
Damn you, man.
Well, sorry, Division 2. Does it count that I bought Awaken the Nightmare for my nephew? That's the closest I came to Halo this week.
Oh, that's nice.
Is he playing Halo Wars 2?
Yeah, he's played all the rest of it. I bought him the season pass a while ago. I think did that include Spearbreaker? Or was that extra?
I think it was separate. I think Spearbreaker and Awaken the Nightmare were two different DLCs.
I think they were, yeah.
Well, I got him that, and then I got him Awaken the Nightmare, so he was way off to play that today.
Does he like the RTS games?
I think he does. He seems to be getting on all right. He powered through it. He didn't have any questions for me this time, so when he was playing the first one, he got stumped a couple of times. His only problem is he has no patience. He can't turtle. He just doesn't understand the concept of waiting.
No, some people just don't.
He would nearly be the sort of person that would drop like the rally point at the enemy base and just let the units run from your base across the map one at a time. That to him would be a valid strategy.
It's kind of amazing though. He's a baller.
Yeah, just like this long snake line of warthogs with gunners and just like, let's see what happens.
Going to die.
We have very different play styles, so if I ever do some like co-op against him, I know that I just need some turrets to protect my base from the like steady feed of troops he's going to send my way, and I'll just turtle and wipe him out with vultures. I've also been listening to some assholes that do this thing called Mission Debrief.
How could you listen to them? They're not us.
Yeah, they suck.
Yeah, what a bunch of losers. Yeah, playing Halo games and then talking about them. Ah, stupid.
Hey, what's the hate, man? Why are you hating?
Someone made a George joke in the last episode I listened to. Once again.
No, I don't think so.
I don't. They would never.
Why
do
would
that.
they do something like that?
How cold.
George is not in that game.
Someone called Alice the second George, and Krysta replied with, "Wait, she's not dead."
Wow, I hate that Krysta girl too.
She's kind of right, though.
Alice is not dead, though. I just gotta say, she was right on that, front.
No, apart from that, I've just played Division 2. That's literally all I've done for about 3 weeks now.
Solid game, though.
I got all my stuff back. I'm happy.
You got all your stuff back. Krysta Brown, what you been doing?
A little Halo Wars 2 for Mission Debrief, but other than that, just the miscellaneous games I've been playing.
Do you want to name one in particular? I know you're doing lots of streaming these days.
Yeah, I finished Nier Automata and then Tell Me Why this past week.
Oh, did you finish it all together?
Yes, yeah, Tell Me Why, all of Tell Me Why came out, and so I finished that up. It's pretty good, it's worth playing, it's really interesting. And then I started, on your recommendation, I started A Plague Tale, and now I am deeply disturbed.
Yeah, get some plague into your tail.
Can I just ask, how many pigs did that one farm have?
There are so many pigs. There's a lot of that going on.
Why did that one guy have so many pigs? How did he feed all those pigs?
The rats? I don't know.
He fed the pigs rats?
Pigs eat anything.
I mean, that is true. I was just very perplexed at the amount of dead pigs I was seeing.
They're useful, though.
Useful dead pigs, yeah. Oh my god, that one scene with the pig. Oh my god. I knew exactly what I was doing, and I'm like, ah, shit. Also, Hugo sucks. I hate Hugo.
Yes.
Every other scene is him getting upset and then just running away from you, and you going, where the hell are you going, Hugo? We're going to die.
He is your bog standard shitty child in a video game. Just throwing a little tantrum, running up with being pure annoying to the player.
Great, that makes me want to play it even more.
It's a really good. He's not like, it's not like he runs into, like, they're scripted situations. It's not like he's normally running into situations where he automatically dies.
Yeah, it's the character and where his story goes. It's not like he interrupts gameplay or anything like that.
Yeah, he's not like a companion quest throughout the entire game. He's actually structured pretty well where he doesn't get annoying when you're playing the moment-to-moment gameplay, but every once in a while there's a scripted event where he does something fucking stupid.
Just kids being kids, Oran. But it is a really good game. It totally surprised me and I got totally wrapped up in it when I played it. That was one of my quarantine games, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I played a shit ton of it when we were doing nothing else. Oran the Mang, you have in all caps in the script, Battletoads.
Have you guys played Battletoads yet?
It's not a Halo game.
Dude, Battletoads is a lot of fun. I was looking forward to this game last year when they showed it at E3, and it kind of went under the radar, and then when they kind of stealth said, yeah, it's coming out later this month, I was like, yeah, boy! I've been really enjoying it. It's giving me a lot of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time from the good old NES, if you played it way back in the day, or the Super NES.
They're hard games.
They are hard. I'm playing on the middle difficulty. I thought about going to the hard, but I kind of sensed the words and kind of how it was portrayed that it was going to be very difficult. So I was like, okay, fine, I'll play in the middle difficulty. And dude, even the middle difficulty, like, the quote unquote normal, is still pretty challenging. I'm one act in out of the 4, really enjoying it, loving the story, enjoying the jokes and the character. It's good fun, super easy. It's on Game Pass, so you just download and play. What more could you ask for?
I
think it's worth a Krysta stream down the road.
Oh no. I mean, is it fine playing it solo, or do I need a co-op buddy?
You don't need a co-op buddy. It's definitely better. I haven't played with a co-op buddy, because it's only local co-op and it doesn't kind of fancy Margot too much. But I can see kind of having 3 toads on screen all at once, beating the crap out of all these cool enemies can be very enjoyable. I think it's fine kind of solo. I think it definitely benefits from having at least 1, if not 2 other toad buddies to fight with.
Okay. I will consider it.
I'll probably check it out co-op when I go visit my parents, and I could play like with my dad. Like I feel like that's a good like father and son game.
Aww. It's cute.
But ask Trent. I bet you Trent would enjoy it with you.
Well, he's gonna have to.
Yeah, I'll make him.
Or he could just put on a face for the stream because, it's for the stream.
Yeah, do it for the stream.
Trent will be on camera. No way.
Oh yeah, he'll be on camera. He doesn't care.
Really?
Yeah.
Good man, Trent. What else then? Any Halo stuff at all, Oran? That's the only thing you want to mention?
Kind of been on a little bit of the back burner recently. I'm waiting for ODST to come to PC / Firefight coming to Master Chief Collection, which should come later this month. Then I'm gonna go give those for a whirl.
Nice. I did a little bit of Halo stuff, so I've obviously been playing Halo Wars 2 Remission Debrief. We have just finished up the main campaign, so that's been pretty cool. We just did our recap episode, is the next one being published, and then we're moving into DLC, so that'll be pretty fun. I remember really liking Spearbreaker, so I'm kind of looking forward to doing that again. And I have very little memories of Awakening Nightmare, so it should be fun to kind of go in and play those again. What I actually did the other day is I remember that I had, like, Dark Horse did a sale a long time ago, and I went in and bought all the Halo comics that I didn't already have. I never read any of the Halo Reach comics, like, at all. So I've been sitting down, I went through boot camp yesterday. It's weird. It's kind of like Halo Reach Light, where they just chop out certain scenes, and even like dialogue's a little bit different, but they kind of just, they give you the gist of what happened in the sequence, and it kind of moves really fast through the boot camp. So I know after boot camp, I think it's like Invasion or the Covenant, and then I think there's something else then. But it's pretty good. It's interesting to see in comic book form. It's weird to think that there's so many versions of it, that there's like a book, a second book, a comic, a anime.
Yeah, emotion, like animation.
Like, I don't think they need to keep doing Reach again. But anyway, I like the comic books. It's been a while since I read a Halo comic book. Okay, now we will get into the guts of the show. But actually, no, we won't. Because Krysta Brown's going to give us some headlines. Because at the time of recording, a whole bunch of Xbox shit just got dropped. And we feel like we need to touch upon this and we're not going to go into crazy detail, but Chris is going to bang off some headlines for us.
Okay, so I'm just going to kind of run through these headlines real quick. Next week we are going to be doing a news episode where we kind of go more in depth and talk about some of our impressions and thoughts about stuff that has been revealed. This past week, there has been a horrible Xbox leak, and Xbox just decided, hey, you know what, we're going to release everything now. So instead of getting a cool, like, thingy, we get a cool tweet. We have prices. Also, the Series S that was probably the worst kept secret ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
It's been revealed. It's very tiny. It's a box. It has been announced at $2.99, £2.49, and €2.99. Xbox Series X, our big, lovable rectangle, has been priced at £4.99, £4.99, and €4.99.
£4.49.
Oh, £4.49. Oh, excuse me. That's interesting.
$4.99.
That's just the conversions.
The conversions. Is that a pretty good conversion rate for you two? Pounds and euros?
I honestly expected it to almost be the same price, to just be $2.99 and $4.99 sterling. The fact it was less is actually shocking.
That's good for you guys, though.
A lot of companies just ignore the conversion rate and change the sign from dollars to pounds and go like, there we go, it's the same.
The way it actually works out is actually, like, say, €484. So it's almost like 20 euro cheaper if I was buying it in Aaron's money.
Couldn't you just drive over the border and buy it and then bring it back over?
No, we're closing the border now. Bill Clinton's preparing to fly here as we speak and, like, fight
for
people.
Peace talks, yeah. No, he's a peaceful man.
Currently, £1 is $1.28 US dollar, so that's pretty good. Yeah, not too bad.
It's a pretty good price for here, yeah. I expected I'd pay more. We'll get into it when we do the news show, but for $249 for a cheap entry Xbox, I am all in for that, because I can dump my Xbox One S for about £100, so I can get me next gen for $150.
Hey!
Nice.
It's not bad, alright.
This guy over here.
So, pre-orders for both of these consoles are September 22nd, 2020, and both will release Tuesday, November 10th, 2020. So, be ready to get those pre-orders in. Make sure you know exactly where you want to pre-order it, because who knows how much stock they actually have of these due to manufacturing stuff during COVID.
They're 100% going to sell out.
100%.
Has anyone seen all the various tinfoil hat theories?
Oh my god, there's so many. We could do it for next news episode.
Oh, fine then.
Give me one. Give me one quick one.
Okay, the only quick one I've seen so far is they list all the prices as estimated retail price, and people think they're waiting to see if Sony's going to come in with a lower price, and then they'll magically adjust it before the pre-orders go live.
I believe that. I 100% would believe that.
It was estimated, and we got it wrong by $50.
No, I don't even think that. I think they'll 100% just own it and be like, no, we're just dropping the price so it's less than Sony. I don't think they're going to like, oh no, we estimated wrong.
It's a massive dick, like, Price is Right move where you go $4.99 and the other person goes $4.98.
Yeah, I'd love that. I'd love if it was just one difference or something, because that's just how you start fights. Yeah.
It's also a good business strategy as well. Hell, it'll make a difference when people are in the aisle trying to figure out what console they want to buy. Some games that are going to release around or on November 10th are Dirt, which is November 6th, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, November 10th, Destiny 2 Beyond Light, November 10th, which is kind of strange, Gears Tactics, November 10th, Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, November 13th, Yakuza Like a Dragon, November 13th, and Cyberpunk 2077, November 19th. And all of these games listed are going to be optimized for Xbox Series S at launch, except for Cyberpunk, which is 2021. More about this, more about some of our impressions and theories and reactions to all of this next week, so look forward to that. I'm going to turn it over to Oran, who is going to get us into the lore.
Yes, everybody. So welcome back to the Road to Infinite, our acclaimed miniseries that, like David said at the top of the show, is getting miniature by the month. We have 2 more episodes for the year, this one and one more. So we're going to be talking about Sentinels and kind of what they are, how they're used, where we've seen them, because they're almost as old as everything else in the rings. Like, they've been in pretty much the majority, I'd say, of the Halo universe between the games and the books. Like, they're quite popular, pretty good foundation for some of the Forerunner constructs and installations that we see. So we imagine that once Infinite comes around again, they will still be a prominent sort of pseudo-faction / consciousness, if you will. And so we'll kind of dive into the different types of Sentinels we've seen over the years and how might we interact with them come Halo Infinite. But before we get started with that, last time we discussed the Banished, and just kind of give you a quick recap if you don't remember, or if you didn't catch that episode, we talked about the formation of the Banished faction after Atriox rebelled from the Covenant, and their rise to power during and after the Great Schism of the Covenant. We kind of profiled Atriox, and we learned what type of Jiralhanae he is compared to more traditional, or at least kind of more characterized Jiralhanae that we've read and played against in the past, and just kind of talked a little bit more about the Banished hierarchy, some of their weapons, their ships, and we then dived into what we expect to see come Halo Infinite with the Banished, because we got a little bit of a tease with July's showcase. So if you want to listen to that, it is on our podcast feeds and on our YouTube, a nice little 30-minute segment kind of covering all that. We'll get you up to speed on what's up with the Banished. Now, Sentinels. Basically, a Sentinel is an autonomous machine that's created by the Forerunners that do a variety of different tasks, depending upon which one we're talking about. So they can construct Forerunner installations, they help design them, they help mine materials, they defend them, they perform maintenance, all those different sort of managerial aspects to kind of maintain these massive structures and facilities. The Covenant saw them as holy warriors of the sacred rings, so they revered them because they are kind of the keepers of the installations, and they keep them up to speed and make sure that they're maintained. Sentinels follow sort of like a chain of command from either a monitor of that installation or a direct ancilla, but they are capable of responding kind of on their own in a collective and coordinated effort in the absence of that kind of higher order. So that's why we usually see them kind of en masse coming as a fleet, because they're kind of like the Flood. They do have some, they're not like collective conscious, but they're all kind of controlled together. So then when you don't really go send out one Sentinel to go solve an issue, you send out a fleet, so to speak, to go tackle this issue or problem all at once.
Kind of like that scene in Halo Wars 3 with the Sentinels that we've never seen again.
Oh, Halo Wars 2?
Halo 3, sorry. Halo Wars 3. I'm a game ahead of myself.
Which franchise? Yes, that's a good example. Like monitors, installation monitors, Sentinels have anti-gravity units kind of designed in their chassis that propels them in all directions and float and hover, and in some cases they can propel through atmosphere and be, in outer space. They are each produced in Sentinel manufacturing facilities that are located on large installations like the Ark and the Halos and the Shield worlds. And they're just giant factories, essentially, that just pump out different Sentinels based on the type of facility that it is, so that, the installations always have enough to perform whatever they need, because when you have, space marines run around and destroy them, you need to replace them. Then we have, we have Sentinel launchers, which are just kind of little portals, not actual portals, but they're like almost like a sewage system to where the monitors can kind of travel through to then go to whatever location that they need to do. And you kind of see this a lot in Halo Wars 2 when you're fighting on Delta Halo. The kind of monitors kind of pop out of nowhere because they're just coming out of those little launchers. And then lastly, I kind of alluded to this before, there's a Sentinel Defense Network, which is just a huge system that coordinates the overall defenses for an installation or a system that the Sentinels are connected to. So if you're in control, if you're a monitor, or if you're an ancilla, you use this network to then mobilize, if you will, your Sentinel forces to either combat the Flood or repair the Ark or whatever you need them to do. So that's kind of like generally what the Sentinels are. So we'll kind of dive into the different types and kind of just talk about maybe which ones we like as kind of our favorites, and which ones we think have kind of changed over the years, which ones we think we'll kind of continue seeing more of, because some of them, kind of learning about the topic, they're very specific in what they do, and it's very interesting to see how they contrast to kind of the more generalized and multi-purposed Sentinels kind of as we go through all these. So I'll talk about kind of the normal one, the kind of jack of all trades, the Aggressor Sentinel. This is kind of the one that a seasoned Halo fan would kind of picture if you just said the word Sentinel, because sometimes they're just kind of referred to as such. They're the most common type, and we fought them in pretty much all the Halo games. They're designed to protect their assigned construct and installation, but they're also capable of kind of small scale repairs. But it's primarily used for like Flood suppression, back when the Forerunners developed all these Sentinels back in the Flood Forerunner War. And there is a special gold variant of the Aggressor Sentinel that you fight in Halo 2 on Delta Halo, and they're just kind of a little bit more beefier, a little bit more powerful, has a little bit better shielding. And that Sentinel beam that they have is just kind of a ionized and concentrated energy beam that they shoot, whether it's at the Flood or at the player. Or they kind of channel that same beam in sort of a different frequency for their kind of multi-purpose repairs that they would handle, whether they're forming different metals or combining different materials or cutting through things. It's kind of it's the multi-purpose laser, if you will. So I think we'll kind of move on to other Sentinels, but because you kind of build off of the Aggressor to kind of have that as your base, I'll pass it off to David to talk about the next two.
The Constructor is the repairer, which is kind of nice to know because you construct, build, kind of makes sense. You would see these in Halo 2 and Halo 5, and it took me, I'd had to look at a picture of them to think of what they are. So these are the little tiny little robots that almost look like a C shape that kind of float around. You see them maybe beaming, they seem to shoot little laser beams out. They have no impact whatsoever on gameplay. They just float around the game world, repairing things, I guess. Not really in terms of the gameplay. They don't make any difference.
Yeah, because they're not really equipped with like offensive weaponry. They're mostly just mechanical.
Yeah, and the constructor, their main function is to repair damaged Forerunner structures, as you can imagine. And they use a low-tuned energy beam, so it's not really for in any way fighting or like combat. They act kind of as a facility's kind of security grid, so when a constructor is attacked, it's a signal to send a sentinel kind of launcher to deploy aggressive sentinels to that location. I don't know if that happens in gameplay, like if you shoot these things, do they like fly off and then sentinels come at you?
Man, that'd be really cool.
You can kill them. I know I've definitely shot them before. I had an image of shooting these things.
I'm thinking of Halo 5, and I can't remember if I tried to shoot them in Halo 5.
I couldn't even picture them in Halo 5, to be honest.
I can't remember. I'd have to go. I'm assuming that these were on Installation 5 on Delta Halo.
When
like you're kind of going through the regret level.
When you play as Osiris and you go to the Guardian that's buried under Meridian, those little sentinels that like appear as you go through the mine, those are constructors, aren't they? Because they're the same sentinels that appear and they remove Chief and that from the Cryptum at the end.
Okay, yeah, that's them.
Little wispy things. I don't think you can kill them in those anyway.
Okay. They're obviously not equipped, and one can simply attract constructors by damaging the structure they are in, and their assigned constructor sentinels will be sent to that location. Oh my god, you capture one in Halo 5 and Halsey reprograms
you
it.
smash the console and the little constructor comes to fix it.
They're the little cylinder things, right?
Yep, I remember these things. So that's pretty much them. They exist in the game. They're cool, I guess. But we also have the assembler. Guess what that does? It's similar to the constructor. You never see it in game. It's mentioned only in Halo Wars 2 and Silentium. And they're kind of builders. So they're used to kind of build Forerunner installations. They're not designed for combat, as you can imagine. And they did attempt to engage the Flood or other threats until more equipped Sentinels arrive. So they'll kind of hold the line, as it were. They have a very large population in the Foundry on Installation 00, as you can imagine, being the fact that they build Halo. Okay, so I'm going to hand off to Krysta, who's going to tell us some more stuffs.
The first thing we're going to talk about is the Enforcer, also known as Super Sentinels. They are used to prevent massive flood outbreaks, such as the one on Installation 05, if you remember. They are equipped with advanced weaponry, 2 pulse beams, 2 powerful energy beams, and missile launchers. It also has claw-like arms that pick up your vehicle and rip it apart and just murder you. It's great. Also, it has 2 very large front-facing energy shields and is exposed to backside fire. So if you want to kill it, you gotta shoot it in the butt. If you remember, these are the guys in Halo 2 that just show up and wreck your shit constantly.
Yeah, they're pretty good. I like them.
They're super scary, though. The first time I saw them, I'm like, what the fuck is that?
And I like how they kind of move very slowly, so they're kind of just like an impeding doom type of a thing. Like,
they're very menacing in that game.
I know, like, one of them is just continually spawns in one spot in Halo 2, and that's so much fun. That's my favorite part. Why wouldn't we do that? Why wouldn't we just make stuff spawn forever? The next one I have to talk about is the Controller, and they are similar to Enforcers. They are heavily defended and equipped to defend specific valuable locations or technology on Installation 00. They were first deployed during the construction of Installation 00. After the Battle of the Ark, they were put on high alert and eventually deployed to protect key locations on the Ark during the Banished and Spirit of Fire invasions. Equipped with supercharged Sentinel pulse beams that cover the area, They also have the traditional Sentinel Beam for focused attacks. So they got a pulse and a beam. For defense, they have a forward-facing energy shield. ODSTs fought these during Operation Spearbreaker, and this is great because that's the next thing we have to cover on Mission Debrief, so that is what we can look forward to. Okay, so those are my 2 Sentinels. I'm going to bring it over to Aaron.
We have Retriever Sentinels. These are a Strato Sentinel. That's my big word for today. You may remember Retriever Sentinels from Hunters in the Dark. They are the Sentinels that... Tragic Solitude? Is that his name?
Yeah.
Yes.
That asshole?
Monitor 000.
He sends them from the Ark to strip mine Earth because he has a bit of a grudge. But they are, if you imagine, basically the all-purpose, like, super building Sentinels of the Forerunners. They build things like halos, they repair the Ark, they have a lot of pretty good jobs. They are massive slow-moving Sentinels, except for in Hunters in the Dark, where I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, they also come in weird combination and like amped up units as well. I have the vaguest recollection of Tragic Solitude, like souping them up and sending them back out. So they use artificial gravity, like tractor beam sort of weapon to strip mine planets, and they can just peel the surface off a planet and then haul it back to the Ark to be used as raw materials. And they're pretty cool, and they are in Halo Wars 2.
Yes.
It's in the main game, isn't it? It's not the DLC. The Retriever's in like the second last mission.
Yeah, I think it's towards the end.
The Halo mission, I think, has a Retriever on it. Which is this big menacing thing that goes around the map, blowing everything up.
And it just moves sort of slow. The other Strato Sentinel variant we have is the Steward. We have it here that they were introduced in Outpost Discovery, in the Ring experience, but do I have the vaguest recollection that they're like an old school Halo thing? Like, did Bungie have concepts for something like this at some point?
I don't know. My research didn't really show any of that.
I could be getting confused with the Guardians because I know Bungie mentioned Guardians before as like large Sentinels. If you're trying to remember the Steward, it was the one that came from Outpost Discovery. It kind of looks like the little flying saucer aliens from the movie Batteries Not Included. It reminds me of one of those.
Oh, good reference.
I was going to say the kind of drone that's used in Star Wars 5.
A New Hope, or
Empire Strikes Back on Hoth that Han Solo shoots. It has like a saucer top and then like antenna and tentacles and arms that kind of weave her around.
Yeah, it's a good show.
It's more like it's sort of like a mechanical engineer, but on a colossal scale. It has that sort of a vibe to it too. They're kind of like an escort sentinel, but they do a bit of everything. So they can do support systems and offensive as well. And they're usually deployed, it says here, for escort of Forerunner machines. You only roll into them if something big's happening. They look cool.
There is concept art from Falcon's creative group, which is the design company that did the Ring experience, and there is kind of a concept that they did compared to a Halo 3 concept of a Sentinel, and there are similarities. It's considered a concept reference, so I don't know how well it was kind of thought about or implemented in past Halos, but it seemed that this is kind of the result of at least like brainchilds of Bungie era.
Interesting. I had the vaguest recollection of an escort, like a large escort sentinel, being a thing that Bungie talked about in one of the many like behind the scenes things they did over the years. That's good to know. Right, we bounce on to, who's this back to now, Oran?
Yeah, I think I'm going to kind of wrap up a little bit. So we have a few other smaller Sentinels that are here and there. We have Protector Sentinels, which are very specialized, and they're kind of like an array of Sentinels that we see in Halo Wars 1 and in Halo Wars 2. But they're kind of specific to whether they were the Installation 00 Protector Sentinels or the Shield World 0459 Protector Sentinels, and they kind of have their own like offensive / healing / shielding Sentinels that all kind of do each of those things as you play those games, and so they're kind of a very specific support Sentinel. You have Gatherer Sentinels, which is kind of like tiny and like a smaller version of Retriever Sentinels. They're still very large, but compared to Retrievers, they're very, very small. These were only seen on an unidentified moon during the Halo Bloodline comic book. They also, in addition to gather like foreign materials and specimen, they kind of focus on kind of the biological side. So they get like species and like other kind of plant life, and they capture them and transport them to bring them back to then be studied and analyzed, kind of similarly to Retriever Sentinels, but not on like a mineral basis, on kind of more of a biological basis. And they also have like a large body and kind of like the Steward have kind of like tentacle looking arm type of a things that float around and crawl. And they also have Sentinel Beam like most of the Sentinels for defenses, but they're not like a primary agitator and like offensive force. There are Council Sentinels, which are kind of like personal security Sentinels that's popped up during the Forerunner trilogy and terminals that we've seen, and they kind of follow the Ecumene Council and are kind of their like personal security assistants, and so they're not overly aggressive, but it's theorized that they kind of have similar aggressive Sentinel like firepower to protect whoever they are protecting if an attack were to happen on the Council. Again, we haven't really seen those in any visual representation, but they are kind of mentioned throughout the, I guess the terminals. There might be a little bit of kind of visual references in those, but they were primarily referenced in the Forerunner trilogy and the short story Promises to Keep. Then we have the Onyx Sentinels, which is kind of one of our last Sentinels to cover, and these guys are very, very different. And it's strange on how, like, they're so unique and different. There's actually like the most information about these guys. And so I just kind of took what makes them different than what we've been talking about this entire time. And the reason they're called Onyx Sentinels is because they're only found on the Shield World Onyx. And I think it's primarily in Glasslands and Ghosts of Onyx, those two books that we see them. Because there's some huge Sentinel battles with them. But these guys are more deadly and more versatile compared to essentially their aggressor Sentinel counterpart. They share a design closer to actually installation monitors as opposed to an actual Sentinel. They have kind of a bulbous eye that they kind of concentrate all their Sentinel beams from and are just kind of more spherical in nature. They have communication capability to where they can attenuate themselves into other signals like UNSC comm channels, and they also have Forerunner translation technology. And I think they, one Sentinel tried to communicate with Lucy or someone like via Latin because they were able to identify that Lucy was a human, so they tried to converse via Latin, but Lucy didn't know Latin. Their energy shields are like stronger, like it seems to be like the strongest of any Sentinel, but they're not consistent. They're only activated when the Sentinel projects it, and it's like this gold color. And so to kind of some Spartans and UNSC forces were able to try to like manipulate, because they have to activate it. They have to kind of trick it from being activated versus unactivated in order to destroy these Sentinels. And they also have this like weird, almost like nanotechnology where they can kind of morph together to then become very versatile to whatever job they're trying to accomplish. So they can kind of become two Sentinels together, one kind of offensive, one defensive, or they can be a string to then form, some sort of mining tool or something. Like there's a lot of different things that they can do that's kind of explored in these books. Probably the most interesting is kind of their most basic function on Onyx is that they make up the kind of lattice work and like scaffolding underneath the surface of Onyx. And so there are just trillions of these Sentinels that essentially make up Onyx underneath. And the Onyx's production facility just produces like another Sentinel every like 6 seconds. So then it can just kind of continue to maintain this, because Onyx is like one of the biggest like Forerunner constructs or like just structures that they've like ever made, really. And it just seems to be the most unique as well. It's
ridiculous and it's awesome. It was such a cool moment.
So yeah, they're definitely, I think, the most interesting just because of the craziness that they can do compared to the other ones. Because like the other Sentinels seem to have very specific roles, even though there is some overlap. But these Onyx Sentinels just seem to just do whatever they want because they can, because they're like, kind of like built that way. And then the only other thing we'll kind of mention here is the automated turret that you get as an equipment in Halo 3. It's technically a Sentinel, even though it's not kind of hooked up to any sort of network grid, and it doesn't float around. It does have an anti-gravity unit so it can kind of suspend in midair, and it does detect hostile forces when activated, but it's otherwise very, very basic, and it's essentially just an auto turret. But it uses very similar intelligence systems and shares similar design elements from the basic aggressor Sentinels. And then again, lastly, there are some kind of Promethean variants of Sentinels, and Prometheans kind of have used Sentinels and kind of their makeup that's unique to them, and we're going to cover those on our next Road to Infinite, and it'll be the last one for 2020, which is just Prometheans, and we'll kind of examine that faction and kind of what they've evolved over time, how they were in Halo 4 and Halo 5, and whether they're going to be in Halo Infinite or not. We haven't had any confirmation, and so kind of see what type of discussions we can kind of come up with, maybe some theories and out there. So but kind of wrap up our talk about Sentinels, we have kind of 3 little bullet points here that kind of give us some insight on what we might see into Halo Infinite. So I'll just kind of open it up to the floor with whoever wants to tackle this first one. But, Installation 7, as we know, is partly destroyed after the Battle of Installation 07, I think is what we're calling it, with the Banished and the UNSC. So we can assume that there'll be a mixture of probably like Enforcers and Constructors and Aggressors and probably even Steward Sentinels that are there on the ring to help fix it, help push back on the other forces, because we don't know, but we assume that either us or the Banished or both are kind of seen as non-allies, or potentially seen as non-allies for the Sentinels as they try to rebuild. So do we think that we'll see Sentinels kind of up front and kind of maybe interacting with the environment as we're exploring the ring?
That'd be pretty sweet, yeah.
And I would say, given the state of disrepair of this Halo installation, that we're going to see them way more and more prominent than probably previous Halo games, because of the very nature of what they do. And it looks like the ring is either rebuilding, do you know what I mean, or in a state of disrepair. So I think definitely we're going to see more types, whether or not they're an entire faction, let's say, or are they going to be under the influence of one of the factions we know exist. Are they going to be are they created forces now? Are they part of the Banished? Do have humans hotwired a bunch of them? Be interesting to see.
I would think we would see some of the bigger Sentinels as well, because I think the ring is probably in a state of repair where they need to go to different planets to get more resources, kind of like what the Ark does. So I think we might see some of that going on as well. Or we might even see them salvaging, like, from the wrecks of UNSC ships and stuff like that.
I think we already have. That trailer they did, the mood piece one, and you see that Sentinel underwater that seems to be cutting something at the start. Like, that looks like a Sentinel retrieving something out of the water. You'd assume it's something that's crashed, so I think we'll see a lot of them.
I think it'd be really interesting to kind of see Sentinels off in the distance doing these type of repairs, and then as you progress through the story and you kind of unlock more sides of the rings, like maybe you see some of that progress kind of persist throughout the campaign as you kind of go about it. Maybe that's kind of a way to open up different areas of the map, because where once a giant crater was that went through space is now kind of repaired. I guess it really depends on how quickly they can do those types of repairs, but I think that could be an interesting way to kind of open up the open world of Halo Infinite.
Random thought. Halo Infinite is a Far Cry style game, and the Sentinels are the wildlife that you use to interact and play off other factions. So maybe you damage an area and bring constructors in, and they are used then to trigger the alarm and then like other higher functions of Sentinels come in and like attack an enemy for you. You pit different factions against each other. What about that? That'd be cool.
That would be pretty great. And that kind of ties into another point I have here, where in Halo Wars 2, Ellen Anders was able to manipulate a ARC command code and bypass these like directive locks, which allowed her to take control of a Retriever Sentinel and to kind of use that at the end of the game. Do we think something like that might be possible, whether like Chief is able to do something similar with something on Installation 7? Like, do we think that we can kind of control and use Sentinels to like our advantage, or just merely like maybe partner with them to fight back these banished forces?
I think the whole question about whether we're going to be allies with the Sentinels or whether we're going to be able to control them really comes down to the presence of the Monitor. Will the Monitor be present on the installation? Because the Monitor controls all the Sentinels, so if you're taking over the Sentinels, you're going to be having to butt heads with the current Monitor of the ring. If the Monitor isn't in play, the Sentinels are just kind of on autopilot and kind of doing their things, like they were in Halo Wars 2 when Ellen Anders took over the Retriever Sentinel. So I think that's the big question here.
And the presence of the created. Because you imagine with their access to the domain that they could do whatever they want.
Oh, definitely.
And I also think it is a good show, because we did discuss this a bit at the end of our recap episode for Mission Debrief. Anders and the ring that she created is like in this universe now. Like, sorry, in the kind of like accessible, let's say, to like the Halo lore, the current timeline. And we know at the end of that game that like that ring is stopped and is kicked out of slipspace by a guardian. So like Anders is here somewhere, I imagine, if not even under the control or like a kidnapped by the created. And we know like her level of influence over Sentinels and even Halsey, because she did it in Halo 5. Granted, it was a constructor, but like that was for a specific purpose. I think I like the idea that they're like something that can be hacked and used. Do you know what I mean? I think that's pretty cool. There are definitely threads within the lore that allow us to do that. Do you know what I mean? That I would allow 343 to include bits and pieces like that in the story.
Yeah, no, that's pretty exciting if we could do different things like that. And it's interesting that you brought up Anders, because I just had a thought. I think a kind of bigger speculation that the internet is kind of having right now is to what level, if any, will Halo Infinite kind of connect with what's going on with Halo Wars 2? Because they both share a common enemy as the Banished. And going off what Krysta said, where if we have retrievers, they might be mining different like nearby planets or going all the way back to the Ark or something to get materials to then fix the ring, because it is in such disrepair, more so than we've kind of ever seen before, without it being completely destroyed. Maybe that sort of portaling technology or something is a way to connect the Installation 07 to the Ark that can then have that sort of connection, whether it's more Sentinels or more Banished, or even like, you know, fully bringing in the Halo Wars 2 cast or you know, something to that degree. Like that could be an avenue used to bridge the two franchises together, if that's a route that 343 is going.
I'd be up for it.
So, any Aaron, you want to touch on anything else, or I think we're pretty good?
I kind of think we're pretty good. It can only be Sentinels will be our friends or enemies, or they won't give a fuck about us. I kind of like the idea that the Sentinels just do not care about us and they're just going to do their own thing. I also like the idea that Sentinels will be the reason why we can't just fly to different parts of the Halo. Maybe they won't let us. Maybe they'll shoot us down. Maybe that's why everyone's running around the surface.
Now that you're saying that they won't care at all, I think, is it the Slipspace engine sort of demo that they showed where we actually saw Chief for the first time? Like, there's a shot that kind of, when he looks out on that vista, and we see what look like birds, but those are just Sentinels kind of flying in the distance, right? And they're just kind of minding their own distance. They're kind of just minding their own business.
It might be the Sentinels from Halo 3. Like, when you find the control room? No, it's not the control room, it's the cartographer. And then a bunch of Sentinels come out and they just do their thing. That might be what they're doing. They might just not be bothered at all and just go and do whatever they want to do.
They have shown wildlife on the ring, so we know there is birds and crap like that, you know?
I think I vaguely remember seeing bits of the ring experience video. Don't they say in that the Sentinels ignore you unless you get in the way?
Something like that. I mean, they do highlight the Sentinels in the ring experience.
Well, I mean, that's the whole point with the constructors and the assemblers, where they kind of just do their own thing. And it's really only the aggressors that come out if they sense a threat. So, obviously when the Flood come, they're killing everything and destroying everything, so they want to eradicate the Flood. But yeah, I guess if we're just doing our own thing, then they wouldn't intervene.
Think about the huge moment in Halo Wars 2 where Isabel hijacks the Enduring Conviction and shoots the glassing beam against the Ark on purpose so that the Sentinels will react. And then they come up, and then she pretty much uses the Sentinels as a weapon to destroy the Enduring Conviction.
Yeah, I do like that idea you were suggesting of using Sentinels as a trap.
Yeah.
Tricking the enemy with them and taking them out that way. It's probably too much to hope for, but I like the idea of that. Just cruise into a camp, smash something, then run like fuck.
If an enemy was around a console or something, you can just throw a grenade in there, blow up the console, and then a bunch of Sentinels swarm.
Or maybe aren't the snipers in Halo Wars 2 Sentinel equipped? Maybe you could have your own Sentinels. Halsey could reprogram them. They look very Sentinel-esque.
There's one of the Spear Breakers has a drone and it looks like a bloody Sentinel.
Is there not something in the lore about Anders repurposing Forerunner tech for this stuff and it's not standard? Isn't I thought those drones were something of her creation based on
Could be
Sentinels, but I would like the idea of maybe of that. What if you could instead of the shitty auto turret in Halo 3, what if you could take a Sentinel and have it escort you?
Be your buddy.
Yeah, be like your drone, kind of like the Division.
Ooh, imagine getting a watcher that worked for you and gave you a little shield and cock grenades for you and stuff.
Oh, that'd be great.
Or it could maybe teleport you, even if it was just a case of when your shields drop, it'll teleport you somewhere safe, if just out of the line of fire.
Yeah, that's cool, and it helps restore. Oh, Aaron, I'm thinking the drone in Division.
No, stop talking about Division.
Have an offensive Sentinel and a healing Sentinel, and just have them be your friend.
That'd be cool. Definitely, I'd love that. That'd be pretty cool.
Well, that's all I got. That's the Sentinels for us. I'm excited to see what they become.
It's interesting, I hadn't thought that much about them until this show, and now I'm man, I'm kind of excited to see what to do with the Sentinels, because I just haven't really thought about what it would be like in the game. And it just assumed Sentinels were always on, Forerunner technology and stuff, and that makes sense. But you don't really think about them. You have the potential for really interesting characters with the monitors, and if they integrate anything kind of what we're saying into the gameplay, it's definitely cool to see. I see a kind of neutral faction on the installation.
I mean, potentially we could have the UNSC, the Banished, the Flood, the Sentinels, and the Prometheans with the Created. So that's 6 different bodies of forces that potentially could have their own stake into something.
I don't think Infinite would do that all at once. That might be
probably
too much.
Not, but one can dream, David.
Yeah, I know.
Imagine a 6-sided battle.
Jesus Christ. There's not enough pixels on the screen for that, Oran.
Gonna need a bigger Xbox.
Gonna need 17 monitors. Just one of those monitors that are 360 around you. A ring of monitors for a game about a ring.
You're just talking about VR at this stage, Krysta, or AR or whatever. Just going into a holodeck.
Halo Infinite holodeck, yeah. Nothing ever comes out of the holodeck. Don't go into the holodeck.
Okay. That was a pretty damn good topic. Good job, Oran. Our next lore topic on the road with Infinite, and our last for this year and for the future, will be Prometheans. In closing, I would like to say thank you all for joining us. You can find every episode of our shows on our website, because the RSS feed has a limit of 100, and we're a good bit past that now at this stage. So go check out HaloPodcastEvolved.com to listen to some of our older episodes, should you feel so inclined. It also features links to our Discord server, Facebook group, Patreon page, Xbox Live Club, and every other contact information that you might need. We also have a voicemail. Please leave us one should you feel the need. Also, people do leave us voicemails, and it's nice. Tell us your name, please, because people are not giving us their names, so we don't really know how to refer to them.
Or if you don't want to give your personal name, you could just put a Discord tag or a gamer tag or Or you could just say John, and we'll just say John or Jane if you want to still be anonymous, just so we can kind of give you something.
Pick a blue team member name, even if it's not your name. Give us a Kelly, give me a Linda in there, a bit of Fred. So the number would be 205 Evolved. That's 205-386-5833. I have no idea how to call that number outside of the US.
You put a 1 in front of the 2.
No, that sounds ridiculous. That's not a real number. Anyway, with that, I have been your host, David, and until next time, evolve!
Evolve!
While somebody moves about half an hour. So I'm just going to pause for a second and wait for people to leave the room. Okay, it's taking way too long. Hold on. I'll just... my sister says sorry. Cut all this bit out.
I'll just browse Reddit while we wait.
Yeah. She's getting ice. I think she's getting some kind of... Yeah, everybody's listening to you, Lauren. She's getting...
Hi, Lauren!
I think it's crisps. Everyone says hi, Laura.
Hi.
Laura says hi. Yes, they're in America.
I'm in Florida.
That's crazy. Okay, sorry, we can go back now.